This meeting is being recorded by the city of Greenfield. If other persons are present or doing the same, please notify me. Okay. Roll call. Nancy Bershoff, chair.
Alyssa Valbona, member.
Looks like we might have lost Meg. Not
I'm
Meg,
here.
excuse me. Meg's here.
Sam, yeah.
You lost Sam.
Sam is camping in Goshen. She wasn't sure what her connectivity would be like. So I assume that she'll call in now. So let's count her as present because I think she'll be back in a moment. Okay,
Jen Hoffman, Health Director.
thank you.
Nicole, Health Inspector.
Thank you.
Megan Tudrin, Public Health Nurse.
Great. And we have our guest, Mayor. Thank you for coming.
Sure. I can only be here until about 5:30 or so. I have school committee meeting tonight, but I'm on for a while.
Okay. Thank you. Jaden has joined us. I think Jaden is recording for Mary Byrne. Is that right, Jaden? You're on mute. Can you confirm that? If you can hear me. Okay. Are you recording, Jaden? He did last meeting. Okay.
Just so you know, Sam's trying to get back on. She just texted me.
Okay. Yep. All right.
Is she in the wait? Is she in the waiting room?
No, I'm.
No. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She just said she's trying to get back in, so.
Yeah. Well, we can approve the minutes. Alyssa, do you have a chance to review the minutes? Here she
I
is.
did. Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 8th meeting.
Okay. Yeah, Jaden says he is recording. Thank you. Okay, Sam, we just had a motion to approve the minutes. Any questions or concerns? Okay, we could have had a second, but I think the second is obvious. All those in favor? Aye, thank you very much. Okay. All right, thank you. Next item is board chair election. But before we get to that, I would like to read a statement. So this is really for our audience. I think those of you who are here in the Board of Health group and the Health Department are aware of this, but I have submitted my resignation from the Board of Health effective July 31st. And it has been a challenging 2 years, but I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to serve the city of Greenfield and its citizens. I'm grateful for our outstanding Health Department Director, Jennifer Hoffman, for her hard work and collaboration on the many issues we worked on together, and for her leadership on so many other fronts. I'm grateful for our public health nurse, Megan Tudrin, whose relentless contact tracing for COVID was amazing. And our health inspectors, Nicole Glaybach and Ruben Arroyo, whose commitment and teamwork helped the health department function well. I'm grateful to the mayor for having selected me to this position. Thank you, Mayor. And of course, to my fellow board members, Alyssa Valbona and Samantha McIver, whose opinions I valued and whose support helped me manage my role as chair better. Thank you all. Okay. I would like to, yeah, Jen, you want to? Yeah.
I have just a couple of things to say about that. Nancy, you have led the Board of Health with fairness and had to make some of the toughest decisions in the years you have served. You have given direction to the health department and assisted us on several projects. You are always an optimist. You are encouraging and supportive to us all. Having you step down is a loss to the Board of Health and Health Department, and you will be greatly missed. Thank you for instilling in us the value of temperance and seeking for answers based in science. Most of all, thank you for your friendship and being there when we all felt weak and vulnerable. That strength is something not easily found in people today. On behalf of the Health Department, thank you for serving the City of Greenfield and guiding the Health Department. Your hard work and the love for the city is greatly appreciated by us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you, Nancy. I too want to say thank you. I asked you to join the Board of Health at a very difficult time because I knew you and knew you could handle it and handle it well, and you have. It has been extremely difficult, beginning in the early to middle days of COVID, right on through today. It's been challenging for everyone for these last few years, the Board of Health, the Health Department. Everybody's done an extraordinary job. We've never had a health department in this city that ran and is run as well as this one. And I know that for a fact. It's been around a while. So I greatly appreciate your service. And by all means, change your mind. Feel free to come back anytime. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate your kind words. And Jennifer, thank you for your kind words. Okay. So with that, we will move on to the next item, which is board chair election. And I've had the just a short conversation with Alyssa Valbona, who has agreed to step into the hot seat, if I can say that, to be chair of the board. And I just, as I said, I've appreciated your steadiness and your help with the board meetings in particular. And I know that I leave this board in good hands with you at the helm. So with that in mind, I'd like to nominate Alyssa Valbona, or I move to, I'm not sure if it's a move or a nomination. I think it doesn't matter, to nominate Alyssa Valbona to the position of chair of the Board of Health, Greenfield, beginning August 1st, 2022. So second to the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Sam. Okay. Well, any discussion, anything? Okay. All those in favor? All right, Alyssa, congratulations.
Thanks, Nancy, and thanks so much again for all of your leadership and guidance over the last 2 years. It has been quite a time to be on a board of health, and I really appreciate being able to work with you before stepping into this role and all that you've done for the city.
Thank you. Well, I'm not going anywhere. So, if any of you want to contact me and bounce things off of me, I'm available. Just want to say that. So good luck, Alyssa, and I will be eagerly following along, and maybe in your audience periodically at the future Board of Health meetings. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I hope to see you.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so moving along with the meaty matters of our meeting, and not surprisingly, the first up is COVID. And I am interested, before you give your report, Megan, which of course is always informative and important, I want to ask Jennifer if she will share a little bit about the session that we had with our epidemiologist, Jack Sullivan, the end of June, I think the 29th. Anyway, Jen.
Thank you, Nancy. Basically, Jack has been with us for a few months, and he met with the other members of the grant that we're doing for contact tracing, and that's the cities of Montague, Deerfield, and Sunderland. And he basically got all the numbers of COVID since March of 2020 till probably mid-June, I think. And he discussed basically what happened when certain restrictions were implemented and released. And the way he approached the topic was extremely informative. It was all data driven from each of our towns, but he focused on Greenfield because he was giving a presentation to Greenfield. He discussed the vaccines and their efficacy based on which vaccine you got, if there was a mixture of vaccines, length of time for vaccines. And it was extremely informative. And I think that I could speak on behalf of the board and the health department, and as well as Megan. I learned a lot. Currently, he is getting an updated presentation for the school board to present and give that data and recommendations. And he's also working on clusters that we have had and the other towns have had to show how someone, patient 0, could expand out, because we can discuss that and till we're blue in the face, but once you actually see the flower petals coming off and then the vines that are attached, it's very hard to see. And when you see it, it's pretty eye-opening. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm very grateful for Jack for doing that work. It is a lot of work, thousands of people that he's going through and culling and getting information from Megan and the other contact tracers and myself. So it's been great. It's been eye-opening. And I think that our department feels a little bit stronger walking into the fall based on the knowledge we already have and then seeing the actual data that we have. Any other comments, Nancy, that I'm missing, or Sam? I think you were there also. Anything?
Well, I think one of the items that I mentioned to you, Jen, when we were speaking about it today, that really impressed me was the effectiveness of masks. And what he was able to show is that periods of time when there was a mask mandate in our community, or, you know, this was, I'm not sure if he showed data just Massachusetts, but in any case, when the
No, it was
mask
Greenfield.
mandate,
It was basically Greenfield.
okay.
Yeah.
So when the mask mandate was in place, there was no influenza. And of course, we have numbers of influenza cases in normal seasons. So that was impressive to me, that just the simple act of putting on that mask, how protective it is, and what a great tool it was for us to be able to slow down COVID enough so that, you know, the numbers of cases that we could handle as a healthcare system, and how important that was. So that was one of the takeaways for me. And and the wastewater information, which, you know, I think the last time we met, Megan, we just had a few weeks of that, but it's unbelievable how effective that technology is, doing the BioBot or whatever it's called. Very effective, and I'm sure you'll have more to say about that, Megan. So yeah, that's those are my thoughts.
So our COVID cases are, they're hard to track, like we were saying earlier, because people are doing at-home tests. We have 40 confirmed positives in Greenfield so far this month, and I've had 18 phone calls from people that said that they're positive on their at-home test, but there's no way to record that or track it. I just have been making a little check mark with their initials on a piece of paper, and that's it. but our wastewater, we started posting it on the Greenfield Health Department website, which is fantastic. So anybody can look at the trends. We're currently in the 71st percentile for the US. It's really hard to track, but numbers are still high. The majority of our cases are the BA5, which is the one that you're hearing about in the news all the time. I think we still have the highest percentage in Massachusetts of the BA5, and I think that's probably because we're so close to Vermont, and when they really spiked, that's when I started seeing the BA5, was when they were in the dark blue. We also have monkeypox. I think you wanted to talk about this time. There's 42 cases currently as of today in Massachusetts, 350 something cases total in the US. There's no real treatment for the monkeypox. It's really, people recover within 2 to 4 weeks. They're testing out different vaccines like the smallpox vaccine and things like that to see if it'll work for monkeypox. Right now, transmission, it's not spread through casual contact or conversations or doorknobs and things like that. Almost all of our cases have been through sexual contact. So that's pretty much it. We encourage anybody that has any sort of bumps on their skin, they might even look really tiny at first, to get checked out, especially if you know that you've had an exposure. The symptoms are also, besides rash that might come a few days later, but fever, headache, sore throat, swollen lymph nodes, kind of the same things as COVID, with the exception of the rash that comes later.
Well, I recall that the symptoms tend to be milder, though. I mean, people aren't getting really, really sick with it, but it's highly contagious, especially in the blistering stages, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And but I thought the vaccine was thought to be effective. No.
There's different research on it. There's nothing that says that it's definitely working that I can find anyway.
So that's still a work in progress, developing the vaccine.
Yeah, it sounds like that. And it sounds like even if it gets up and running, it's not going to be something that they give to the whole population.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, the recommendations I read from the Department of Public Health said if there's been an exposure within 4 days, or an exposure, and what was the other thing? 14 days. I think just to prevent a worsening of the illness with the two. Anyway, that's what I read. So.
I have a question on the monkeypox. Is that a virus that now stays with you, like, chickenpox leading to shingles, et cetera, et cetera? Do we know yet?
Well, it's not related to chickenpox, so that's important to know.
Okay.
It's in a different viral. It's in the category of smallpox, but not chickenpox. Can't remember the science around those things. I'm not aware of any information that says it's harbored in the nervous system or anywhere else in the body. I think once it's gone, I think it's gone. So.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Yeah.
We had a briefing from the Sexual and Reproductive Health division at DPH for our program, and supportive care goes away on its own.
I think it's definitely sexually transmitted. I think that's the population that it's spreading through right now. Are the populations that are very sexually active, primarily homosexual, but I'm not sure if if they're tracking heterosexual populations at all.
Well, yeah, we don't
you would know
quite
that.
use that division in that way anymore, but it is a little more prevalent in men who have sex with men. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Megan, I did want to offer an addendum on the COVID report. I've been in communication with Jack Sullivan about the BA4 and BA5 variants, and this was, going back now 2 weeks, and he told me that the data that it's a rapidly evolving thing, and he said that BA5 now constitutes nearly 60% of the infections in Greenfield, and this is data from the wastewater information. Isn't that correct? It's got to be wastewater data.
Yeah, I think we're at 70% now. I can.
Okay, this
On
was
our
as of
website.
1 hour ago. Anyway, that's what he told me. He said
Maybe
that-
they updated it since this
I
morning.
don't
who
know.
knows?
And he said that the BA4 is another 22%. So the two combined represent 82% of the infections in our vicinity, which is amazing. I mean, if BA4 and 5 were just a month ago, it's like, oh, they're somewhere else. Guess what? They're here. And then Jen, after our conversation, I asked him about the one in India, and he said this is the BA 2.75. It's listed as a variant of concern by the European CDC, but there's only been a handful of cases here, so it's not yet a variant of concern here. It's one of interest, variant of interest. So yeah, never a dull moment in the realm of COVID, for sure. So yeah, Jen, you had your hand up? No, that was just a flicking of the wrist. Okay, all right. Anything else on either COVID or monkeypox?
I'm looking on the state website right now, the BioBot website, and we're
Yeah.
at 71.4% for BA5. BA2.12 is 28.4% and 0 BA4. That's the most up to date for BioBot.
Okay,
For
so
Franklin County. That's for Franklin County.
Mm.
And Franklin County really means us, since we're the only one that's doing
Yeah.
wastewater testing.
Interesting. So his data differs from.
I know, I don't know if I can share my screen or not.
I might have to make you co-host, Megan. Let me
Oh,
get
it
you.
says host disabled, but that's
So
okay.
hold
I mean,
on.
anybody can look at it for the
Yeah.
biobot.io.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to take that right now. Jen?
And I was just notified a little bit over an hour ago that Massachusetts has its first EEE case out east. So it is now that season where people should at dusk and dawn wear long pants, long shirts, and bug spray, and just be protective. Even though there's no cases in Western Mass, it is becoming that season where there is definitely going to be more mosquitoes around. If there are any pots with water, tires with water, the water's accumulating, just to empty it out, flip over, pots and cans or anything that collects water. So you just have less chances of having any water collection, even though we are now entering a very dry season in Western Mass. So that might not matter as much at this point, but just to be aware of mosquitoes and transmission of disease.
Can you put that up on our website? Just reminders for people.
100% I will.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay, I'd like to move on to a brief conversation about the Lunt property audit. Samantha and I, as well as Jennifer, attended the meeting between that was part of the PIP process to educate the people who are involved in the public involvement process. Did I say Jack? John Ziegler, who's the head of the audit division of the Western Mass Department of Environmental Protection. And he outlined, he had a very good, straightforward presentation. He outlined the areas of non-compliance and the steps needed to bring the city back into compliance. He pointed out that the OTO, the LSP, which is a licensed site professional, needs a better definition of the disposal area of TCE contamination. For them, they had it really limited to the Lunt property. What the state is looking for is anywhere where the TCE contamination has gone, and that includes through any potential migration pathways, even if it's off the Lunt property. And we know that it's migrated off the property through the water that is below the soil level. So Bruce Nicholson, who is the LSP, is supposed to submit the required phase 2 scope of work. And has that, Mayor, has that been submitted, or he's still working?
Well, he wanted to have a meeting with Kim Longridge while John's out, or else he would have, I think his preference was to have the meeting with both of them, but John's out on his extended vacation. So he asked when he submitted it on or about July 1 as a draft, would he,
Okay.
would they be able to meet? And she's refused to meet with him. I think he wanted to have better explanation of what it was they were looking for, so that he could better target what he could make a commitment to doing. He just didn't feel like he had enough information from them. She refused to meet with him. So yes, he is, I believe I received an email yesterday saying that he will now revise it slightly and make it a non-draft and submit it. And then I have to submit it as well to the PIP group.
Yeah.
For their review and comment. There will be an extension asked for beyond the July 26th deadline.
Okay, good. And I'm also aware from that meeting that there were numbers of people who expressed unhappiness with the current LSP, and were hoping that person would be replaced. And I just would like to say that, that obviously this is the mayor's decision, that whatever the mayor decides in this regard, it is clear that the DEP will be much more involved in oversight of the cleanup going forward. And having spent several meetings with John Ziegler discussing this, I feel very reassured knowing that they're watching what's going on. And so I'm very relieved and reassured by that. And I wanted to, and Alyssa, I know you weren't able to attend that last meeting, but I wanted to ask if either my board members had further comments about where we are in this audit and cleanup process of the Lunt property.
I think that summary actually answered all of my questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the meeting was super helpful, and I think even without having to ask questions, he answered pretty much everything that was kind of up.
Jennifer, anything I missed or you would add?
No, I think that he was very reassuring that the work was being done based on the scope that Bruce Nicholson was following at the time, and that looking back, they could say, you know, retrospectively, it's always easier to see things that are missed than as you're sometimes doing it. And that's with any science. And he's pointing out things that he just wanted clarified. And he sounded that I felt that the LSP that we currently have is more than capable of doing it. He was, you know, evaluated and had to get tested to be an LSP, and he's done great work. So I feel confident that the DEP is going to be following closely, and I feel reassured by that presentation and the information that we've had with the DEP to this point.
Thank you. Anything else before we move on? Okay. We have some property inspections and follow-up. Jen and Nicole.
We have several properties that we have been following. I wanted to talk about the property on Montague City Road because it's of concern to several people because it was a former auto salvage place, and the health department has been working unbelievably closely with the person with that property. Megan has gone above and beyond, as well as Ruben Arroyo, by visiting this gentleman. He was in great need of medical care, and he has, with persistence from Megan and befriending Ruben, he has gotten the help he needs and the support he needs. Because prior he wasn't able to take care of his property, and he's pretty much still not physically able to take care of his property. But we are aware of the fines he accumulated. We are aware of everything going on. Zoning and building are very aware of what's going on with that property. So we have been monitoring him. But it's very difficult to get someone who's sick to maintain that. If they can't even maintain themselves, how are they going to maintain a property? It's much more difficult. So, and he doesn't have help. We have another property that we recently condemned of a woman who had a small fire last year. And this will be coming to the board's attention. I'm just giving an overview. And she was living out of her car for a while after this fire. And I guess over the winter she lived with her daughter. The damage to her house was minimal. She had great difficulty reaching out to her insurance. MJ had somebody trying to help her, but that grant ended and that help disappeared. Needless to say, we got a complaint from the DPW that the water department didn't want to go into our house because of black mold. We visited the site, Nicole and I, and there was a tent on her property with a bed in the tent and a commode and other personal belongings. There was a kitchen table outside. The grounds around the property were very well maintained. She was keeping her gardens and her raspberry bushes, but not the house. At this point, the house has a tree on its roof, and it's becoming a lot more damage, and I'm sure insurance is not going to cover it. At that point, I condemned her property, and I told her that she was not allowed to be in a tent. She's not living with her daughter because of conflict. Her daughter just drops her off big gallons of water so she could sponge bathe in the tent. So I told her she would have to write the board a letter for permission while we try to get a contractor to help her with her home for permission, because she has nowhere to stay in this tent because it's considered temporary housing. I think you guys remember that whole conversation. And the letter, I gave her 2 weeks to write this letter to the board. The letter was due yesterday. She did not provide a letter. So I'm trying to decide what to do with this case at this point, because if I move through with the condemnation and telling her she can't be in a tent, I don't want her living in a car. But this will come to the board's attention in more detail. So I just wanted to let you know that. So it's a very difficult case. We have other problems with other properties, but they're pretty much being managed. We're holding some properties that have been difficult accountable at this point. One of the things we're coming into a lot of problems with are people that are not mowing and saying they're pollinator gardens. They are obviously not pollinator gardens. Pollinator gardens meet certain criteria, and I will provide that to the board. There was a very famous case several years back where it actually went to court over someone not mowing, and the health department was heavily criticized for that, saying that their energy should be spent elsewhere. On that note, we don't mind pollinator gardens. No mowing in May, I am in support of, and I was going to bring that to the board because bees are coming out of their little rest and they need to have food and energy. So no mow May, I think, has some really good benefit, on an environmental concern. But when weeds and grass grow very high and they are harborages for other insects and rodents and other things, it becomes an issue. I'm not saying we're going to do anything. I just think that the board at some point should discuss pollinator gardens and classify pollinator gardens. And I'll get literature to the board just so we can send out to people what a pollinator garden should be and what it is not for education. And I just wanted support of the board to do so.
Thank you. We also have the temporary Title V agent. Do you want to put that out there now? Do you still need us to approve that?
Yes. So good news is I am pretty much looking to purchase a home, and this home has a septic system, and I'm usually the one who signs off on plans in the city, and it would be a conflict if I review the plans. So I asked a colleague of mine if they would be willing to review the plans and be at the Title V when the time comes. They agreed, but in order to do so, he needs to have a temporary approval from the board for this one address only to do so.
I move that Randy Crozier be assigned a temporary Title V agent for a single property
In Greenfield.
in Greenfield.
I could email you the information.
I'll
Do we have
second
a
that
date?
motion.
You want a date?
And then we can, yeah.
We can finagle it. Okay.
I,
All right. You got the motion, Nicole? I can't hear you.
Sorry, can you say?
I move that we assign a temporary Title V agent to Randy Crozier for a single property in Greenfield this month.
the third perk was done today. The plans should be drawn up hopefully within a week or so. So I'm hoping, I would say August.
Okay, so just say till the end of August. How's that? Is that give it enough? Okay, how's that? Everyone got that? All right, second to the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, Randy, you have your agency. All right, good, good, good. Okay, moving along then, and are there restaurant inspections?
Nicole, you want to talk about vendors and fairs and stuff?
I think since April, we've probably had a vendor event just about every weekend. Jen and I have been pretty much tag teaming on those. There's been quite a few. It's mostly all the same vendors that we see, and I haven't really seen any issues. Everybody has been super compliant. We had a couple hiccups in the beginning when they weren't showing up on time. And we were leaving the office and waiting for them, and they weren't going to be there for a couple more hours. So we got that worked out.
Nicole, did you have any properties you needed to discuss? I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think the biggest one I probably did was 20 Holland Ave, where we worked with the police department on it. The story that goes along with it's probably not so happy, but it has a happy ending, and it's going to be transferred to a new owner. My dogs are going crazy because my mom's home.
And we are currently having a problem with another property that we have multiple agencies involved in on Leiden Road. So, and that one's going to be very challenging is also, but that one is currently under investigation.
Oh, and I just want to say, like, the dog park and like the homeless issue, like, it's like they're not even there. They've been totally awesome. Everything's been super clean. I think Mr. Batch that's down at the dog park is he's pretty much in control of everything and making sure that there's no trash and stuff left around. So that's really awesome. And I know the gentleman from Carson's spoke to him too, and he left him in charge of that. And I think they like that. They want to be included.
Oh, that's such a relief. So the
Yeah.
the Carson's can was moved to the unofficial dog park, and things have been going well.
Not the unofficial dog park, the dog park.
Right.
Oh, that's right, the dog park, but way in the back.
Yeah.
The unofficial dog park, that's another story.
As for the homeless situation, a couple of things. There's been a question about the old Wedgwood Gardens, and Nicole and I visited that site.
Right.
There's a couple of people that are questioning. I got a call today if people there are paying taxes. I referred them to the assessor's office because they don't feel they should be living there and they're not paying taxes, but those people, so it's becoming a thing. But I refer them to the assessor's office and to follow up with Acting Chief Gordon, because they're the ones that visit the site to make sure there's no one there after dark as it's posted. We Stop and Shop they reported us. They reported us to the DEP for trash, and basically I wrote to them and said that it is private property that they own and they have to maintain the trash on that site. However, the health department would be more than happy to discuss with the population the emphasis on keeping that area clean and providing sharps containers and collecting them, and that the police department would also remind them that littering is a crime and that there are fines involved, just like fines involved with the health department. But the Stop and Shop was getting tired of cleaning up, so they wanted to write us up and say it was our fault for not maintaining their property. And that was quickly, we definitely got out of that complaint because it's private property and they have to clean it up. So I just wanted that there.
In case we hear about it through the grapevine.
I can't remember if I told you guys about 136 Munson Street. with the squatters? I didn't? Oh boy. Okay. I probably should go over that one. So basically, Jen and I went out to a property on Munson Street, across from the Life Path building. And this gentleman had invited some people into his house who said that they were going to help him clean. They stayed more than 3 days. So after you stay in a residence in Massachusetts for 3 days and are invited there, that is now your residential address. So you would need to get a restraining order to have that person taken out, and there would have to be a court case. So long story short, they moved all their stuff in, got like this giant container, like as long as a tractor trailer truck, and just filled up this guy's house and his yard and everything and just destroyed everything. He ended up having to sleep in his kitchen by the end of this whole thing. And Jen and I went over there. We wrote him an order to correct. He was very serious about it. He got the temporary restraining order right away. Kept calling the police every time he had an issue because he was very afraid of them after a while. They weren't like his real friends. He was just lonely and wanted somebody to talk to. But he completely cleaned that thing up. He went to court. Those people are gone, no longer squatting. And we got him involved with Life Path also. And he has like a buddy that he can call and talk to. So that was another success story.
Well, I'm glad you shared that with us. It was like a whole story. You wrapped it all up. The onset, the bad part.
It was a long time it was going
Yeah.
on, and it actually got cleaned up really quickly.
Great.
And he's getting, and we did an elder at risk form, so he's getting help.
Yeah.
We have been filing lots of elder at risk forms because there's a lot of elders who are needing assistance.
Properties.
And just need help, and we've been working and following Life Path extremely closely. I've been meeting with them about cases in particular that need to be followed up, because those are our most vulnerable in some ways, and as of 136 months in, can get easily taken advantage of. And especially after 3 days, someone could say, I'm not leaving. And if you don't know those rules, you could have a really big problem. So, yeah. So
Emily was
Nicole,
brought to our attention. Yeah. Good.
Then we did have one complaint about the Dollar General on Main Street using plastic bags. I spoke to the manager about that, and she said that they had ran out over the weekend. And they were getting a new shipment on Monday. And when I went back in there, they had paper bags again. I just told them if something like that happens, they gotta let us know. Otherwise, people are gonna call and complain.
Good. All right. All right. So we're done with property, restaurant inspections, public comment. Any public comment? Okay, Glenn.
Being the only public present, I'd just like to give a quick comment. Thank you for serving on the Board of Health, Nancy. Sorry to see you go. I hope that they can find a doctor to replace you. Since we are a city, we're supposed to have a doctor on the Board of Health. And I'm sure it's going to be hard to find someone. I also want to thank you for your recap of the meeting with John Ziegler concerning Lunt, something that I've been pretty involved in. And I just want to put it on the record that I completely disagree with the mayor's position on continuing to use the LSP that works and is paid for by the real estate developer lawyer. It's inappropriate. It's a conflict of interest. And I believe that it actually is a form of collusion, that the mayor will be held responsible for colluding with the tenant in this regard. But the city council has passed a resolution of no confidence in the continued involvement of Bruce Nicholson and OTO. And that's about as politically strong as one can get in Greenfield at this point. So the mayor is, for some reason, sticking with the person that resulted in the city being issued a notice of non-compliance for numerous violations of the Massachusetts contingency plan regulations. And I am completely at a loss for her logic on that situation. But I do want to say that the Lunt Neighborhood Action Group will be applying for a technical assistance grant this year. The round, there's more grants available, and they're for up to $20,000. So we will be putting together an application for a technical assistance grant, submitting that to DEP. Unfortunately, the process takes a long time, as most things with the state, and the money will not ultimately, it's a competitive grant, and the money will not ultimately be available until the beginning of next year. However, that's, I think, our best option for getting real support for both the PIP group, the Lunt Neighborhood Action Group, and also for the Board of Health, because I am very concerned that the board is not being supported by the mayor as well. You should have access to competent, qualified professional help, especially in this very technical area. It's not something that most people know anything about, and you really deserve to have access to help. But that apparently is not going to happen. This is being handled and manipulated behind the scenes, and I'm not happy with the way things are, but we are going to work to correct that. And so the one thing that I hope the board will consider, the application is not due until, I think, September or October, the technical assistance grant application. But I hope the board will consider submitting a letter of support on behalf of the residents of the Lunt neighborhood in the application for the technical assistance grant. I really appreciate the fact that you came to that meeting with John Ziegler. It was, I felt, a very neutral space for us to meet in. And I would like to continue that working relationship with the board. And I will, or someone from the group will approach you with a letter requesting that you submit a letter of support, along with, you know, we will be asking for a lot of other organizations or entities to also write letters of support. So you won't be the only ones. But anyway, that's my feeling at this time. We will be very involved in reviewing everything. And I do agree with you that John Ziegler made it very clear that DEP will be very involved in this process going forward. And that is very reassuring for everyone involved. So,
Thank you.
So that's
Okay.
my comments. Thank you
Good.
for listening to me, and good luck, Nancy. And I know that I'm sure the last few years during COVID were really difficult. And I'm sorry to see you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, Glenn. Appreciate it. Okay, so moving on. Next meeting, I would like to suggest that we not plan a next meeting. It will be up to the new chair, Alyssa, to determine what's needed and when the next meeting will be scheduled. So we're gonna move off of that onto adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Great. All those in favor? Yay. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate all that you've done. I'm sorry in many ways not to be here again. And also I'm on to other things in my life. So I will see you one way or the other. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nancy.